I don't know if you knew this, but Fernando Mendoza is a big shout-out guy.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to the student section. I want to give a shout out to them. So just quick shout out to the student section. Also, I want to give a quick
The Indiana Hoosiers have taken college football by storm again this season. After a college football playoff appearance last year, this year's Hoosiers look like a legitimate national title contender, led by a potential first-round quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza has been ruthlessly efficient through 7 games for the Hoosiers, completing 73.5% of his passes for 1,755 yards, 21 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. That level of play has been so dominant and so impressive that Mendoza is currently in a neck-and-neck battle with Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson at the front of the Heisman Trophy race. I repeat, there is an Indiana Hoosiers quarterback front-running the Heisman Trophy race.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
While Mendoza is now being touted as one of college football's best quarterbacks and a potential top NFL draft pick, that wasn't always the case. An unheralded high school recruit, Mendoza originally planned to play for Yale before a last-minute offer from Cal came in just before National Signing Day. Mendoza started 2 seasons after redshirting for the Golden Bears, then became a hot name in the transfer portal this past season before being lured to Indiana by head coach Curt Cignetti, and now he looks like one of the sport's biggest stars. The playstyle for Mendoza is a lot more traditional than a lot of these modern dual-threat quarterbacks. A 6'5", 225-pound quarterback, Mendoza is a pocket passer with a quick release who can stand in the pocket under duress and deliver a strike deep downfield when needed. He has some athletic ability to extend plays, but where Mendoza really helps the Hoosiers thrive is by carving up defenses at all 3 levels of the field thanks to his pinpoint accuracy and arm strength to push the ball vertically. What's funny is that after watching a significant amount of Mendoza, the easiest comp for him in the NFL currently is another former Golden Bear and former #1 overall pick in Detroit Lions Pro Bowler Jared Goff. As a prospect, Goff had a lot of similar traits to Mendoza. He was a big-bodied pocket passer with enough mobility to maneuver and avoid pressure, along with the arm talent to spread the ball out all over the field, including between the hashes. While the NFL has continued to drift towards athleticism and dual-threat ability at the quarterback position in today's league, players like Goff are the blueprint for how a player like Mendoza can succeed at the next level. Goff has already been named to 4 Pro Bowls in his NFL career and has helped lead a pair of impressive offenses in the Rams and Lions to multiple postseason trips, including a trip to the Super Bowl early in his career with the Rams. There's still a lot of time before the NFL draft, and this crowded quarterback class will continue moving up and down the ranks, but there really is a path forward for Mendoza to be a potential #1 overall pick, much like Goff was back in the day. So, let's break down the film from Mendoza's most recent impressive performance in a win over Michigan State in today's Shades of edition of Best Available. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Best Available. Make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube and follow us on socials at Best Available YT. If you want another way to consider supporting the channel, consider becoming a member. I'll leave details of that in the episode description. There's additional benefits with becoming a member. I want to give a shout out to Keith Monticello. Just like Mendoza does his shout outs, shout out to you, Keith, for becoming our latest member to the channel. And with that, why don't we go ahead and dive into Mendoza's tape. You probably noticed I'm wearing an IU bomber jacket. Yes, I am an IU grad, and I've wanted to talk about Mendoza for a while. The reason I've been hesitant too, I didn't want this video to come off as incredibly biased, but I think at this point in the college football season, there is enough talk about Mendoza being one of these legitimate top QB prospects. I felt comfortable enough talking about him while being complimentary because I think the tape has spoken for itself at this point. I mean, 21 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions, I think really highlights all you need to know about this guy. I think at least at one point, I can't remember how it finished, but Mendoza had more touchdowns than incompletions in this game. So let's dive into this. The first play we're going to show is a 3rd and long. We're going to have kind of a mirrored concept. So I know you can't see the top of the screen right now, but on both sides, it looks like we have a vert on the outside that could turn into a comeback based on if they are beating this DB. And then we have a 5-step, I believe, glance. So we're having that. It's 2x2, so there are 2 guys up at the top of the screen doing the same thing. We're trying to, push the ball vertically if these safeties stay home and don't gain depth, or if it's just a zone, we're just trying to find soft spots, just something to, push the ball vertically, get past the sticks. And I think we do a nice job of that here. So what you're going to notice is Mendoza on the end zone cam, you can see it more clearly, but he is initially looking this way, doesn't like the look, And then we're going to pay attention to this receiver here who gets past this drop, which looks like he's trying to cover the flat, in front of the sticks, maybe try and jump a throwing window. But as Mendoza turns back to read this, he sees that the soft spot's about to open, right? He can see this defender whose momentum is carrying him this way. And as he realizes that, we have this not great window, but it is a window on 3rd and long. We've got to really pinpoint this, right? Like we've got to throw with anticipation because this window just opened up. We can't lead too much. We can't, not throw with velocity. We can't throw a soft pass here because this safety can crash down and jump it or, punish our receiver. So I like the anticipation he throws with and the accuracy. And a lot of quarterbacks I watch just tend to struggle on throws like this that are not their primary read initially or initially where they're looking. They can tend to be panicky. They can tend to force throws. A lot of that. It never shows up with Mendoza. He always seems very comfortable going through full field reads at times. And, he has the arm talent and the size that he can really get that ball there where it never feels like it's being forced. And I think this is a great example of that. On an early 3rd down, you can see where he catches the ball. Like that's well past the sticks. It's a really nice play to get some momentum going early in the game. There's not much to this next one. We're just going to have a simple exit motion with the running back, and then it's just a quick slant. But I want you to pay attention to how comfortable Mendoza's feet are in this. Too many times you will see a quarterback get really hoppy in the pocket or on a quick game. You see this way too often with talented quarterbacks, right? They'll throw off their back foot. They'll maybe sidearm it, just kind of like keeping things casual. But what I appreciate with Mendoza on the throw like this, notice how all of his cleats are in the ground. And then as he's delivering this throw, if you watch that back foot, he's winding up to throw. That back foot is never moving until that ball is out. And he can deliver it in stride with ease. And I know it's not, a big mind-blowing play, but this is really consistent with him on the RPO and quick game. His footwork is always really clean. He's got a really quick release. And he just focuses on these little things that really, add up over a game. A lot of IU's offense is RPO, quick game. Get the ball out quick, be kind of a point guard at quarterback. And I think too many quarterbacks kind of get bored with that and just really rely on their arm versus mechanics and footwork. But I think Mendoza is one of these guys that does a great job of that. Really enjoyed this play on mesh. Just some good decision-making by Mendoza. We're going to have these two crossing routes, right? These little drags. But then on this side, we're going to have a snag, a spot, whatever terminology you use for this route. This will come important in a second, even though the ball's not going here. But we're going to run this. So we have that mesh coming, right? You see the two crossers. You can see where Mendoza's looking, right at this linebacker. And as these crossers are happening, I think that linebacker does an awfully good job of reacting to make sure he has enough momentum to break down on this route right here. So he recognizes that. And then you're thinking, hey, you can't see it on the screen right now. There's this spot coming. You don't want to throw that spot for a couple reasons. We've got safety help over the top. We've got this guy. But more importantly, we have this guy that's chasing the drag. And if we're throwing this even a half second late, see if you can get into screen. He's right here. Unfortunately, can't see him. But if we're throwing that and he has all this momentum, he can jump this, and that's danger territory. So Mendoza, instead of hitting that, either the drag or the spot, starts scrambling, feels the pocket, and then feels this soft spot. Nice job by this other drag to figure out in this zone when to stop. But then Mendoza climbs the pocket, sees the open guy. We move the sticks for a first down. Just a really clean play, by a savvy quarterback that, consistently makes good decisions on plays like these. Maybe you could force a throw there. I just don't think it's a safe throw. When I see deep middle of the field shots, I'm immediately thinking of Jared Goff. I think it is how he has made his money in Detroit. He is so good on those dagger concepts. He consistently finds guys open, 10, 20 yards downfield in the middle of the field. And this is one of those plays where I started thinking about that Jared Goff comp. This is just going to be a simple, we're going deep here to push this safety with us. And then we're going to bring a deep in to find that soft spot in the zone, which we are going to find. Offensive line's got to hold up on a long developing play like this, but you can see with the linebackers dropping, this one's reacting to the check down. This one's eyes are just on the quarterback. Again, we're pushing this safety, so he has to gain depth. And then we're cutting in, and you're going to see that throwing window open up. He's getting ready to throw this before this wide receiver's even in front of this guy, but we got to throw with anticipation. We've got this window right here. between these two linebackers, right? So we've got to find that fit. I think Mendoza does a great job of that, hits the guy comfortably in stride for a really nice gain in the passing game. And if we cut to the other angle, I just really appreciate Mendoza's pocket presence here. Just very little panic. There's some mess going on, but he knows he needs to stay in that pocket, not take off. This play is not designed to, get the ball out quickly. You've got to sit in there for a second. And I just really appreciate that Mendoza is so comfortable doing that on a play like this with, so many guys trying to get after him. It's a really nice play. This is the throw that reminds me the most of Jared Goff, and the ones that I definitely think he can easily complete at the NFL level. You've got to have good pocket presence at the NFL level and feel when pressure is coming, and I think Mendoza does a great job here. This is a losing battle by the right tackle on the left side of your screen. Mendoza does a great job of feeling that pressure and stepping up, and then he realizes it is a clean defeat, so he's taking off, finds where his check down is, knows where that is, and lets his receiver just do the rest. And we get, what started as a pressure that could have led to a dangerous throw, a bad decision, maybe even a sack. Instead, Mendoza just knows where his check down is, escapes the pressure, and gets that throw out. That is another huge part of playing NFL quarterback. It's important in college as well, but at the NFL level, you're not going to be consistently creating giant chunk plays. Sometimes just knowing when to not take a sack is just as important as hitting like a 20-yard shot. And I think Mendoza has a very good feel of, throwing against pressure. Man, if you want to talk about arm talent, I think it doesn't get much better than this. We're going to watch the bottom of the screen. We're going to have a post corner here. So we're going to fake the post, break it back out to the corner. I did not draw it beautifully. Don't mind my horrible drawings, but we also have an outside release go on the outside, just trying to get this corner out of the picture, right? We don't want him in this picture. So great post corner. He's cutting. The safety's breaking down on that post. Can't react in time. This goes, creating that window. Now, here's what I love about this throw. I'll move the screen a little bit. If you're throwing this too flat, this guy can maybe get in the way. If you're throwing with too much touch, maybe this guy can break off and jump it, gives this guy time to recover. He's on the opposite hash here, and we're throwing from the 12 to about the 36. So over 30 yards in the air, probably farther from throwing from the opposite side. And just, it doesn't even look like it's a hard throw for him. This is a long throw for, 90% of quarterbacks. And for Mendoza, something like this just looks effortless. I mean, he hits him at the 40. That's almost 40 yards in the air. It's probably more than 40 based on where he is on the field. But it doesn't seem like it even phases him. And the fact that he hits it so accurately with, the perfect amount of touch versus velocity, he really does have this arm that can make, when we talk about making all the throws, there are quarterbacks that would struggle to hit this one accurately with time to give him time after the catch. This is a big boy throw that not many guys, even in this QB class, can complete. You got to have mental toughness as a quarterback. Sometimes things don't go right, and I think you saw a great example of that from Mendoza in the Oregon game when he threw that pick six and then immediately responded by taking his offense all the way down the field for a touchdown. And I was hoping to find another example of that in this game, and we did get one. This is a great example of mental toughness and not panicking. Bad snap, right? Is on the ground. It's supposed to be a simple handoff. This is supposed to be pretty routine for the quarterback, right? But things are going wrong. Too late. He's not going to be able to get this handoff in time. So what does he do? He just follows his blockers. No hesitation. He's going, nice job by the running back, heads up play to make a block. Mendoza has a little bit of vision, a little bit of, rushing ability. Again, he's not the fastest. He's a little goofy. But more than anything, I do think he can run enough for me. But it's that mental toughness to not panic when something goes wrong like this and to make a play out of what should have been nothing. And ends up being a pretty successful play. Just a really nice job by Mendoza to have that kind of composure, because when the quarterback's not panicking, it settles down the rest of the offense. I love this play design for the touchdown. This really screws up the whole secondary here. We've got an inside motion. He's going to motion inside of this wide receiver, and it's going to force these two DBs to change assignments. You can see them communicating as this motion's happening. And then what we get, the safeties are also trying to communicate. They're not sure what the call is. We need someone deep here, right? Instead, he's kind of reading this number 2 man here And it's leaving our number one now, or number one closest to the sideline on an island. And he does a great job. He is pushing his leverage outside first to try and get this DB to commit in any way with his hips. And then he's going to cut back inside with no safety help over the top. And that's exactly what we get. And then this throw by Mendoza on the money. IU's receivers don't get enough credit for how talented they are, but that throw was some special stuff. If you're looking on that side of the screen, it doesn't even look like he's throwing it that hard. If you watch Mendoza in the pocket on this concept, you're just going to notice right here just how it doesn't look labored. He's just kind of just zipping it on a rope in stride for the huge touchdown. Great throw. Like, the arm talent's ridiculous. I love the route that was run by the receiver. I love the play design to, really cause a lot of confusion with the secondary. Everything about this is perfect, and that's why you get, this 40-plus yard touchdown. But that throw, man, I just want to show it from the end zone. You can't see it too well, but it's just the lack of effort on that throw. Dime, in stride. Too easy. Last one of the day. Sometimes you just got to trust your receiver, and man, do we have that here with Elijah Surratt. Nicknamed Waffle House because he is always open, and man, is he. We've got no safety help over the top, right? Everyone's crashing down on the box. We've got one-on-one here with one of the best wide receivers in the country, so we're just going to throw it up to him. He's going to get on the outside of that release, and it is on the money. Cannot get much better than that as far as pinpoint accuracy on a deep shot. The velocity of Mendoza, a lot of quarterbacks, I always think of Mac Jones, had phenomenal touch on his deep passes, right? Quinn Ewers was pretty good with his deep touches, but at the NFL level, there are times you just got to throw with velocity. You can't afford to leave that much time with the ball hanging in the air. And Mendoza is such a big body with a live arm that he can throw passes like this on a rope. And it's exactly where Waffle House needs it to be for another touchdown. Just a ridiculous deep shot. I hope this shows you just the kind of player that we're talking about with Mendoza. Big-bodied, great arm, really calm, makes the right decisions. There's a lot to really like about him. So hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back on Friday with a request from my grandpa who's been begging for one of these videos. So stay tuned for Friday's episode. I think you guys will enjoy it. And we'll be back in a couple days. Thank you so much for watching.